so blessed that I have you guys here to listen when I want to share. And so whether or not you're typing in the window or not, or whether you're on Ustream or wherever it is, I feel extremely blessed at all times to be able to talk and to have people listen to me. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much. So I kind of miss, I miss, there are no thoughts separate from God. Yeah, I kind of miss being, not being here on my Wednesdays, but at the same time, I am trying to enjoy my summer because most of it has been spent, it seems, with going from hospital rooms to in different facilities, hospital rooms to nursing homes to this place to that place. My dad is doing better. He is, today he was very sleepy, very tired, but it seems as though I've spent my days going from all of these facilities and not getting much of a chance to enjoy myself. So I wanted to kind of make some space in my week so that I wasn't rushing home or rushing to get someplace where I could just, so I could just kind of do the unwind thing. And thankfully, my friends here in Cleveland have helped me out with this, and they're showing up. And we're having a fabulous time, thus far the last couple of weeks, which is good for me. So I'm just glad to be here. You know, it's interesting because I have really been very introspective lately, not only about the course and as it relates to the course, but about on so many different levels of what it means to really be living in the moment and to live out my truth. Life is really supposed to be, um, we ought to be all having fun, and we're supposed to be happy. I think that there is this notion that a lot of us take on, that once we've chosen a life of being in the ministry, or once we've chosen a life to dedicate ourselves to God, a lot of us change around what we perceive to be fun. And so, really, I am finding myself in the context of where I am, being able to live out my truth and saying that my truth too needs to be just as fun as everything else is. And so, all right, never better. You guys, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And, bye, Linda. Okay. So, yeah, so it becomes this thing of all of us trying to figure out what our truth is, and living that out, and living it out in a context or in a way that we truly enjoy it. And a lot of times I think that we go through, I don't know about you guys, but I see a lot of folks that go through this process of where they never really get in touch with what makes them happy. They're so busy trying to do all of these things that they think they're supposed to do, rather than trying to find what truly is to make one happy. And so, I want to talk or explore that idea for a little bit today, and talk a little bit. Yesterday, I did the service at the church where I attend, and it's so interesting because as I started preparing for it, it was such a richness of sharing. I opened myself up, of course, as I always do in prayer, and opened myself up in the sense that I was saying to Spirit, God, use me, and use me not just for me, but for somebody else who needs to hear the lessons that I'm learning. And that's what it's usually all ever about anyway, is what do I need to see? And in my seeing, I know that somebody else needs to see it as well. And they always hear exactly what they're supposed to hear in the moment, regardless of whether or not we meant to say it. Because my words can be whatever I say, Spirit gives you exactly what you need to hear. So you hear it right, even when I say it wrong, or when I'm saying something that wasn't in line with where you were. And so it comes out, and it comes out just how it's supposed to come out. And so I'm so blessed to be able to be used in that particular way. And so I'll share a little bit about what I talked about yesterday, and then talk to you about where I am today. Not that it's that much different from yesterday, but in some regards, it's a world away. So let me start off. This is Sandra Bishop, and this is A Course in Miracles, from the introduction of A Course in Miracles, the book that I just so simply love. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The aim of the course is not to teach the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to your awareness of love present, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all encompassing can have no opposites. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way: nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Ah. So as I sit in that space for just a moment and know that all is well, knowing that nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists, knowing that there is nothing that stands outside of God, I am just truly, truly just wonderfully excited about the ways in which um, I get to change my mind about how I see things. At every moment of every day, I get to choose how I see things. And the Course tells us that, because we are gifted with free will, we can take as long as we want to take on any given idea. We can talk about it, we can turn it over, we can obsess about it, we can reject it, any of that stuff. But there is ultimately only one destination. I mean, there is only one thing that's going to happen. The atonement is going to be at the end of all of this stuff. And regardless of what you may think or what we may think about it, it's going to happen. And so just the time, remember, Dove loves to say it's supposed to save us time. And so that's all that we're doing, is saving time. But all of us will eventually get to that spot where, right where we are supposed to be. All of us. And you know what? And you're already in your divine right spot. You are already there. So, so wonderful. Cheers. Yeah, yeah, yay. I'm so happy. So, I know that sounds weird, but it's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. So today it was interesting. I was this whole month of the month of July at my church. We were talking about this idea of understanding, and when I went in yesterday, my approach to it was slightly different. But of course, we had two other ministers that talked about this, the having spiritual understanding. And so as I was, preparing, I always like to be a little different or do something a little different. And so I come from, usually from the Course in Miracles with my talks. And not to say that the other folks that are there don't come from the Course too. But I was, I'm always trying to figure out, okay, now, given the context of where I am, how I see life, my particular vantage point, what is it that I bring that's different from what somebody else would bring? And as I started thinking about it, I started thinking about it in the sense um, of that all of us, we get this thing called understanding at different times, on different levels, all the time, every day. And as I started thinking about understanding, I kept thinking about it in the sense that understanding doesn't automatically happen for me. Sometimes understand it can take years for me to really get something. And sometimes I get things immediately, but sometimes it's just like I get those aha moments someplace, like way down the line after I've read something. And so a lot of things are like that for me. And I don't know how it is for you. I mean, some of you, um, thanks. Some of you are maybe get it differently. Some of you maybe get things right off. But for me, sometimes it takes a moment for me to really understand and really get things. And so when I talked about understanding, I wasn't talking about understanding in the sense of let's understand other things, let's understand stuff. I started talking about it in the sense of let's understand self first. Because a lot of times what we don't understand is ourselves. And oh my gosh, lots of mic pops and okay, so I'm trying to get this mic all situated, and it's not really working all that great. Let me see what I can do. Because I hate mic pops, and I realized, okay, so what happened with this particular mic is that there is a fuzzy thing that's supposed to go over top of it, and I lost the little fuzzy thing that's supposed to go over top of it, so it's not on there. And so yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I actually have one of those things somewhere around here for an earpiece that I had, and I don't know where it is. And so rather than look at it, I'm trying to figure out. I've got a bunch of mics over here too, and none of them are suitable. None of them are suitable. Trust me. So can I apologize for the mic pops? I don't know if let me see, what can I do? I don't know. Let me keep talking, and then we'll figure it out along the way. I'm gonna move over here and see if I see one of these little things as I dig through a box, and this is going to cause some more noise, you guys. And hopefully I'm not mooning Ustream over here, because I just came over here and just bent right over into my box to look for another mic, and without even checking to see if people could see this. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unplug one mic and plug in another one right quick and see if it works any better. Yeah, be slapping that mic. Okay. Yeah, as long as we weren't slapping anything else, Paul. Okay, so here we're going to try this. Let's try it. All right. So so tell me. All right. Does this mic work any better? Does this sound any better? Can you hear me? I like the tractor sound. Okay, so no better on this particular mic. It's still not good. Okay, no feedback on that particular mic. Okay, so I guess maybe you can't even hear me. That would be the thing. Okay. Okay, so all right. So I tried to get some feedback on that other mic, but since I got none, I figured maybe you guys couldn't even hear me on that other mic. So that one is tossed by the wayside. Let me see if this other mic works. Give me a second. Okay, how about this mic? Can anybody hear me on this particular mic? No comments on this mic either. Oh my gosh. Hello, how are you? All right, so I'm not sure what's going on over here. I'm not sure what's going on over here. Okay, so okay, so I am trying to do my show, and it seems as though all right, I'm sorry that it seems as though somebody had taken the mic. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Um, yeah, it was because somebody had taken the mic. So I'm not sure what happened. Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now? No comment, huh? Oh gosh. Okay, so maybe nobody can hear me? Oh goodness. Okay. I'll be right back. Alrighty. So can you hear this mic? Can you hear this mic? Hello? Can anyone hear this? Nobody can hear me? Oh gosh. Um, okay, can anybody hear me like this? Hello? You know what? I don't have to. Anything? No sound, nada? Is that how it, is that nothing? Hi, hello, testing. Okay. All right, so this is not working, and for some reason it sounds like it is working to me. Do you hear? I don't understand what you hear. Okay, testing, testing. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? No, no sound. Okay. Can you hear this one? Can anybody hear this one? Hello? Hello? Okay, so Hmm. Okay, so that is that. Let me. Okay, so let's see if I can get this to work. Mm. All right, so I am so sorry about that long pause that has happened on this particular tape. Maybe I'll try to cut it out, but if not, um, mhm. Extremely frustrating. And I guess if they can't hear me asking, can you hear me? Um, okay, how about this? Can you guys hear me now on this particular? Can you hear me? No? Yes? Oh gosh. I guess this means still nothing? Hello? Oh, okay. Um, Okay, so you guys, let me continue on while I'm waiting for this to reboot. I can talk to you because I'm sure that my mics are working fine on this particular computer, just not on this one. So I was talking about this spirit of understanding, and I have been talking about this idea of not being able to understand ourselves. And so while I'm thinking about this, let me look up Randy Crawford's song, um, Been to Paradise, but I've never been to Maine. All right, so here we are. We're on that, and I am going to reboot this computer and see if I can't get some sound up and then go from there and see what happens. I mean, that's all we can do is see what happens. And so, you know what? And the funny thing is as much as you try to prepare for these little nuances, you can never tell. I guess the guy just said that the mic that I was using, he was hearing a lot of popping and stuff in. And I know this is my old mic. And so once this one stopped working for me, this is a Logitech and it stopped working. All of them are Logitechs actually. So this one stopped working for me. So then I picked up this one. He said there was a bunch of popping and it was low sounding. So I went back and I grabbed this old thing, and you can just imagine how old that is, and it's not working. And then where's the other one that I picked up? Did you see it? There was yet another one. Oh, it's over there back in the box. I picked up yet another mic, and that one is not working either. So I suppose I'll hit Micro Center sometime, maybe tomorrow, and pick up another mic and go from there, because I not that this one that I'm wearing doesn't work. I just usually leave this one in the car for when I'm going out and I need to have something else. This is and then I don't like to wear a headset when I'm doing this either. So it's part of the reason why I'm not using this and I'm just using the other one. So I'm logging back in on my other computer, and hopefully I can get back onto Pal Talk. And once I'm back onto Pal Talk, if I can get the conversation restarted, I would still love to finish up with what I'm saying, because I get so excited about this stuff. I get excited and worked up about it, and know that when I'm talking, it actually is so good for me. So I just hope that it's good for everybody else too. And this particular one is a Jabra. And it's funny because this is something that when I say that this is the one I usually leave in the car, I actually picked this up at a Goodwill and found it in a Goodwill. It was still in the package. I broke it out, and it has a USB cord instead of the regular mic and all that stuff. So it goes through and installs all the drivers. It gets all in there. So hopefully this will work just fine when I finally get back onto Pal Talk and begin to talk to them once again using this method and see what happens. So yesterday was so rich for me and so good as far as the talk that I gave at the church. And so I'm conscious of not necessarily wanting to give that whole thing over again. Um, Only because, who's to say whether or not I'm actually going to play that tape on here. So I'm trying to be conscious of not necessarily trying to regurgitate or rehash the things that I said yesterday. And then turn around and then somebody has to listen to the same thing over and over again. So I just appreciate the fact that you're watching this, and in spite of all the breaks and interruptions that we've been through. So here we go. So now the interesting thing is that is all of this is so rich. Okay, so here we are. We're going to click off of there. I'm going to go back into okay. All right, so can you guys hear me now? Can anybody hear me now? Ah, yes. Amazing. Amazing. Good. Now they can hear me. Great, 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 great. Okay, so woohoo! Yes, that's the truth. It's like 7:35 already. And I'm just now getting here and getting started. So listen, oh, you're thinking it's fun. Ha! I'm glad you think so. I was so frustrated. Um, but it's all good. So here is, I want to go through and I want to talk a little bit more. Yeah, I was kind of frustrated here because I was flustered. I wanted to talk. It's like I want to keep getting my talk on, and you guys are saying you couldn't hear me, and so I was over here like, oh no, oh no, oh no. So here I want to kind of, let me tune this in because I want to hear something. I want you guys to hear this too. I know you heard the song already. Hey lady, can you hear that? Person at your life, you're a discontented mother and a regimented wife. I've no doubt you dream about the things you'll never do, but I wish someone had to talk to me like I wanna talk to you. Been to Georgia, California, and anywhere I could go. I took the hand of a preacher man, and we made up in the sun. We ran out of places and friendly faces because I had to be brave. I've been to paradise, but I've never been to me. Please, lady, don't just walk away. 'Cause I have with me to tell you why I'm on today. I can see so much of me still living in your eyes. And to share a part of a real world that is living in your eyes. You see, I've been to nights and the hour breaks while I'm still camping on the yacht. A moonlight hollow in Monte Carlo, and show them what I got. Just like you, and I've seen some things that a woman ain't supposed to see. I'm going to paradise, but I've never been to you. For unborn children that might have made me complete. I took the sweet life and never knew how beautiful and sweet. I think my life reminds me that I still want to walk the Camino over in wherever that is. Is it in Spain? I want to walk the Camino so bad. Um, thank you so much, you guys, for being patient with me and through all the mishaps that I'm going through. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about understanding and not understanding of things and other people, but rather the understanding of self. That whole thing, she's saying, I've been to paradise, but I've never been to me. So many times it seems as though we're always running around, gathering opinions and listening to ideas that are shared by other folks. We live in a society where everybody is trying to get what they can get and get it quickly. And a lot of times, what we're so busy doing is this thing that we call race consciousness, that we never stop to check in with self and see what it means to be just who we are. So for me, that would mean just seeing who Sandra is. And I know for so many of you, you probably like let go or dismiss this whole concept of there being this personal self. But I believe that we came into this particular manifestation of who we are for a purpose. And that purpose is to learn the lessons of the atonement. And how can we truly ever get to that place of the atonement when we've never been into this thing called self? I am so fond of telling people this, and sharing with people how difficult it is to truly grasp what the meaning of love is if you have not yet learned what self love is, what it means to love yourself and who you are. Because if you don't love self, then you don't know how to love anybody else, including God. And so, as I started thinking about it from that standpoint of view, it's like, let me see what it is to learn, what's here for me to learn. Because, unlike sometimes, you get the perception that we think we have the perception that God might not have known what he was doing. And so we need to jump over this manifestation, this life that we're living, this ego self that we're experiencing now. Jump over all of that, like not even go through this experience that we're having, not even go through that, and just jump right back into this oneness. But if we are in the situation where we are, where we're perceiving ourselves as separate beings, as separate entities, what are we here for? What is the purpose of this particular leg of our journey? And so, so for me, I am like sitting there and I'm trying to get to an understanding of what it means to be Sandra, what it means to live this life, what it means to be in this body, in this space, in this time. What am I supposed to learn here? So it becomes this thing of really like doing a shift, and turning around to look at this thing, this life I'm living, so I can see what it is. So many of you have already like, I like to say booed up. We like to boo up with people, We get in these relationships with somebody else. And then in the context of those relationships, it said in the Bible, it says, wherever two or more are gathered in my name, there am I also. It becomes this thing of we get into these relationships so we can see more clearly who we are. Remember, we're always teaching who we are. But if we think that we can find God by ourselves, we've been totally mistaken. So we get into these relationships with somebody else so that we can see more clearly our God self. We can see more clearly what it means to love, more clearly what it means to forgive, and how we can really get into these spaces of developing the intimacy, into me see, that's required of this spiritual journey. A lot of times, if we sit there and I know I give lip service to to this idea that, only love is real, and fear is, of course I'm saying, I don't believe in fear. And so if I could say to you that, I have no fear, but really, I mean, there is this fear of joining sometimes. And so if we are even afraid of the simple process of joining, then that in itself is fear. And we're supposed to be removing the blocks. We're removing the blocks, getting all the blocks out of the way so we can understand more clearly what it means to be loved, more clearly what it means to have the atonement, that at one meant with some other human being. So as I sat there and I started thinking about all the ways that we kind of lose ourselves. Even as we open up this book and then it says, my thoughts do not mean anything. So if I jump all the way back to in the midst of lesson 52, where it says, my thoughts do not mean anything. I have no private thoughts. I have no private thoughts. And yet it is only private thoughts of which I'm aware. So if I go all the way back there and I think to myself, I have no private thoughts, then this thing called intimacy is what we're supposed to be living right here and right now. But so many of us are not into, and I don't know, maybe you guys are all here and totally intimate and totally like giving up this idea that you can have private thoughts. But for me, I know for me, I have, I still have this notion that not everybody knows my thoughts. And so it becomes this thing of how do I get to a place of truly joining. So intimacy, I always say into me see, when I like remove all the blocks that to your awareness of my presence, when I lay myself open. And so it's this thing of, if I am really trying to get to see inside of you and you inside of me, of losing these ideas of boundaries that may be separating us, if that's the kind of intimacy that I desire, um, yes, thank you. If that's the kind of intimacy that I desire, then I need to stop erecting walls. I need to really get in touch with who I am. And it's so interesting. I don't know if I told you guys about this before, but it's so interesting. Some of the best classes that I have is when I step back and I truly ask people questions that they may not have thought about. Because what we do is when we come in the house, we get busy. We cut on the radio, we cut on the television, we get on the internet, we do busy things. And not enough of us spend time in meditation and just truly getting to intimate with ourselves. I mean, there is this thing I call self-estrangement, where we have actually abandoned self and so busy worrying about other people's opinions and pleasing everybody else, staying in step and being as good as or better than, that we kind of lose sight of what it means to just truly make ourselves happy. And so it becomes this thing of us being imposters because we're so busy trying to be something for everybody else. We can't be anything for ourselves. And so I kept sitting there and I kept thinking to myself, like, what is it that we're afraid of? I mean, most of us, I know I stay in Cleveland. I know y'all hear about all the stuff going on in Cleveland, but most of us are not afraid of bodily harm, of somebody coming up to us and hurting us on a physical level. Most of the things that we're afraid of are other people's opinions about us or our own judgments about ourselves. Am I going to say something that's good enough or worthy of somebody listening to me? Am I going to be as good as as good as somebody else when they talk? or am I going to? So most of our fears are about the thoughts and opinions and judgments that other people outside of ourselves, as we perceive ourselves, outside of us, those opinions are what makes us afraid. The idea of being judged, of being graded, of not measuring up, those are the things where we're fearful. Those are the places where we get afraid. Those are the places that we clamp down on. Some people are still worried about whether or not they're in style. Remember, I don't know about for you, but when I was a kid, I mean, people would laugh at you and heckle you just for simply wearing floods. I mean, and what's floods? It's like these pants that are not quite long enough. And so a lot of times people have these residual fears left over from when we were younger of not quite making the mark, of disappointing somebody else, of being judged by others. Those are the fears that people get caught up in, not whether or not somehow this body thing is going to end. And so when we talk about this idea of what we're truly afraid of, what are we afraid of? And is it this fear that we have of somebody seeing truly into ourselves, truly into what's our own truth? And I know for me, sometimes I'm so afraid of just admitting certain things about myself, whatever that may be. Admitting that I see myself aging, admitting that I can no longer jump up and not need to wiggle my legs and make sure that they're working. I feel like the Tin Man, almost when I get out of bed in the morning. It's like I got to put a little oil on my knee and then a little bit on my ankle, and I got to get my body to moving and stuff like that. And there's a fear of somebody else finding out that my bones just don't work like they used to. And what is that? I mean, that's part of the aging process that we should all be enjoying, that we should all get into and really like appreciate. And I don't know what that's about, but maybe at some point maybe I had judgments in the past about, whether or not, somebody else's joints worked right, and what that meant for them in the bigger context of things. But yeah, I hold on to the walls too. And then when I get up, the first thing I need to do, and what kind of stuff is that to be afraid of? Somebody else finding out. I mean, so some of our fears are so ridiculous that we don't even see that they're ridiculous fears. And without opening ourselves up and allowing somebody else in, we don't know that it's a silly fear. We don't know those things are silly. So we anticipate judgments that haven't even been made. We anticipate issues and problems that haven't been, and that spirit of anticipating harm, that anticipation of judgment, that anticipation of not quite meeting the mark, a lot of times keeps us from doing the very thing that we would do. And so, yeah, so it becomes this thing of why is it that why is it that we have any fear? And so sometimes I go back to, remember the talk I gave months ago, I don't even know if it was this year, about this idea that we have been taught, that fear was found to be the greatest motivator. And we have been taught through our school systems this fear over and over again, this fear of all these different things that keep us in line and keep us from really understanding and getting into self. And when we fail to get into self, what we do is we stunt a lot of growth that we could possibly have. If you were really into yourself, you might be doing exactly what you love to do instead of what you think everybody else will admire you for, or instead of what will give you the most money money or the biggest car or the thing that'll make people look at you and say, oh, I wish I was her. I mean, we would stop getting caught up in the judgments and opinions of others and then really do what it is that makes us happy. I so admire artists because artists seems like they just kind of like let go of all the judgments and just whatever their art is, they just do that artistic thing. So it becomes a thing of once we visit self, once we really take a journey inside of ourselves and see what makes us happy, what makes us tick, and see what get to a place of understanding even our fears and our joys and all of that stuff, we get closer to understanding God. I heard this one minister say, he was talking about his analysis of the Bible. And of course, I didn't go through and verify all of this information. But when he was talking about, he went through the Bible, he said, if you notice, he says, when you go through the Old Testament talks about people and their gifts. Whether you were a bricklayer or a person who interpreted dreams, or whether you were David and could slay Goliath, or a sheep herder, or whatever it was, a merchant. They basically referred to people by their gifts, what it was that they can do. When you go into the New Testament, it seems as though they identify people by their issues. They had an issue of bad blood, or they had leprosy, or they were doing something else. And so one is about their gifts, and the other about their issues. Please kind of understand what I'm trying to point out here. On one hand, if we're looking at what a person brings to the table, those gifts should be what we acknowledge, and not necessarily those places in them where we perceive their deficiencies. The gift versus the issue, the gift versus the deficiency or the judgment. If we hold on to a person's gifts, then what we do is we kind of bring that gift to the forefront and see all the ways in which it serves the greater good of society, and not necessarily just looking at the places where they appear to be needy or they appear to not measure up. And so it becomes this thing of let's pay attention to what the gifts are, and then leave behind all those places in ourselves where we would judge and find fault with ourselves. So it becomes this thing of just really, what are we focusing on? What are we focusing on in ourselves? What are we focusing on in each other? Let's look at the gifts as opposed to the issues and hold on to that. And when you know yourself, you can identify what your gifts are. I can say what my gifts are, and if I say what my gifts are, then I can appreciate yours and your gifts. I remember we went to a family reunion one year, and they wanted everybody to get up and do something in a talent show. And it was so interesting because there were so few people who wanted to get up and participate in the talent show. You had some people who wanted to get up there and sing, or some people who wanted to go up there and do some kind of dance, or a little line dance or something like this. But really, in my family, I'm gonna tell you, there was not too many people who wanted to participate in the talent show. They were all just kind of sitting around. So I remember when I got up and I grabbed the mic and I was like, you know what? Most people don't think that this is a talent. talent, but I've got a gift of gabbing. I've got the gift of gab. I can talk. That's what I said. And so as I stood there and I started talking and I started telling them about how when I was younger, I was punished for the amount of talking that I did and what I told and how much information I gave out. I was punished because I talked too much. And then all of a sudden, when I get older, when I get to be an adult, my talking is my gift. My ability to kind of make you feel like you feel right now, whatever you are, wherever you are, however you feel, that energy that I'm able to bring to a conversation is my gift. And nobody else has to understand it. Nobody else has to even define it as a gift. But I know, and even without even preparing or trying to shape it or anything else like that, I know that when I open my mouth, it's no longer about this self, Sandra's self. It's about allowing whatever it is, spirit wanting to come through me. And that's my gift. So you guys forget all the issues, understand self, love self, and then once you do that, then your gift will make room. Or you'll make room for your gift, however it goes. But that's the truth. All right, so it's 8 o'clock, you guys. I love you. It's time for me to go. And yes, blessings to you. SandraSaidIt.com is almost back up, but I'll see you guys probably maybe on Wednesday. But I'll let you know. Thank you so much for being patient with me. I love you.